Hello, I am Dr. Caryn Ward from the State Implementation and Scaling Up Center of Evidence-Based Practices. I'm here to present about using a partnership to support scale up and really tell a story of capacity building with one of our states in collaboration with the Region 7 Comprehensive Center. My colleague, Robin Jarvis, unfortunately was unable to be here with me today, but please know that this is a presentation that we've developed together and that we value our partnership together. So Robin, we miss you today. So a little bit about the partnership. As you know, SISEP is an OSEP-funded technical assistance center. The Region 7 Comprehensive Center is one of several different national comprehensive centers that serve specific regions of states and are funded by the ESEA, by the DOE. Robin is the director of the Region 7 Comprehensive Center and also serves as the lead Florida for State liaison. And she's joined by her colleague, Rebecca Parrott, as we go forward. So a little bit of context in our partnership with Florida and their best standards implementation. Florida in the winter of 2020 adopted the benchmarks for excellent student thinking standards, which were new standards as they moved away from their Common Core implementation. Both Region 7 and the SISEP TA Center formed partnerships with Florida as they were working towards the end of that winter 2020 adoption. In the spring of 2020, we provided, in collaboration together, a series of professional learnings with the Florida Department of Ed staff in implementation science, and we supported them to really develop, specifically for K-5 early literacy initially, a practice profile that would outline specifically what the key instructional practices that they were wanting to see used by classroom teachers in Tier 1 instruction to support students achieving the standards. We're going to talk a little bit about that more. For right now, I'm just giving you an overview of a big picture of Florida's journey to date with us and our partnership in some context. In summer of 2020, then, we worked with Florida DOE leaders and several of their stakeholders to really design the creation of what we call the Florida Implementation Zone. We're going to talk a little bit about the Florida Implementation Zone and what and why that is, but know that that consists of 5 districts within the state of Florida in a regional consortium that supports rural districts. Then in the fall of 2020, we moved into providing professional learning series and coaching for those participating districts in the implementation zone on best practices in implementation and training on the K-5 early literacy practices in conjunction with Just Read Florida. We then, in spring of 2021, moved into the fall of 2020, I should say as well, was about data collection processes while we were delivering professional learnings. We began to collect data at the district level as to their use of best practices and implementation, what we call capacity. We trained on walkthrough observation tool to be able to capture the fidelity and the use of the instructional practices that Florida had defined within their K-5 early literacy practices, as well as we were collecting process data or other implementation data, such as teacher perception, district team or district staff members' perceptions of how implementation is working. And we've continued that. Our goal is to continue that ongoing professional learning and coaching support with the Florida DOE for their participating districts and schools for the next 22-23 school year. So here's a snapshot of who is in the Florida Implementation Zone. You can see the districts highlighted there in yellow. If we think about what is our impact by this zone, we have a total of 297 leaders being impacted that we're working with, 5,717 teachers, and a total of 91,285 students. So why this work? I'd like to talk a little bit in the remaining of this presentation about the why of the work, why the partnership, why did Florida use an implementation zone approach, the what, in terms of what it is made up of the partnership. How does that work between the two technical assistance centers? What is the what of the work in Florida in terms of their implementation focus? So going a little bit deeper into what their work is for the best implementation standards. And then finally, to wrap up with the how of how we're engaging in the partnership, how we're engaging in that implementation zone work, and then share what have been our learnings about this partnership work as two technical assistance centers, as well as our learnings from working with the Florida Department of Education in this work. So when we think about the why, so first of all, why this approach of an implementation zone for Florida, right? The goal of the implementation zone is to start small. In implementation, as you saw, we have 5 districts, 1 regional consortium, and we are co-designing with them what the implementation support should look like in terms of selecting the initial cohort of implementers, of staff to be implementing the K-5 early literacy practice, helping us design those professional learning and the coaching supports for them and their teachers as we go forward, and the data systems, what data is needing to be collected and used by who and when, and the necessary leadership supports as we go forward. We also then look at how do we replicate what we're learning and make improvements upon it and take it to scale and apply it to others. So in the words of Florida leaders, what we've heard from them as to why this implementation zone is they want to get it right and they want to learn together to be able to scale the impact across the state. They also feel like they can't lead what you don't know. So this gives them a safe place and a co-learning partnership with several of their districts to learn with them and from them, and really to look at the impact of leadership within an implementation, and that we know leadership matters. And so cultivating that and fostering that work. So why a partnership? Well, it very much facilitates leveraging. It leverages different subject matter expertise between the SISEP Technical Assistance Center and the Region 7 Comprehensive Center. It leverages each center's respective different tools and resources that we've developed. It creates efficiencies when we're able to provide different levels of support by different TA staff. And it supports that within department cross-office division collaborations within the Florida Department of Ed. And finally, it supports TA competency development. We are learning from each other as we engage in that collaborative code delivery of what works, what doesn't work when we're supporting practice change at all levels of the system, whether that is the state, the regional, the district, the school, and the classroom level as we move forward together. So what does this look like? So as I said, the what of the implementation zone for Florida, we initially began this work with a focus on pre-K-5 early literacy, specifically looking at what are the expected tier 1 instructional practices that we should be seeing happening in every classroom across the state of Florida to help them their students achieve those best learning standards. So we took them through a process of really identifying the philosophy behind early literacy, what the core components are when we're looking at PK5 early literacy instruction, what is absolutely essential that we know needs to be there to get to outcomes, and then operationally defining of what does that actually look like in the classroom? What are teachers saying and doing when they're using those core instructional practices? So to do that with the state of Florida, we did a review of their statutes and legislation. There is very specific legislation in Florida that outlines the use of the science of reading and what those instructional practices need to be and their administrative codes. We also, leveraging resources from the Region 7 Comprehensive Center and SISEP, did a research scoping review. And then very important was getting feedback and input throughout the process from various stakeholder groups in Florida, such as university partners, TA partners, and district and school staff. The development of what we call that practice profile that defines those instructional practices has very much been an iterative development process where we developed it, we get feedback, we go back, we are developing it with them, I should specify, we're putting it into use, we learn things as we do, we use it to design the professional learning for teachers and for the districts that resulted in changes. And as the districts have been collecting their fidelity data from their observations, that has also informed ongoing development of clearly defining and specifying the instructional practices for Tier 1 literacy. So what makes up this partnership? As I said, it includes state liaisons from the SISEP TA Center and the Region 7 Comprehensive Center. Across the three of us that provide that TA team, we've got various subject matter expertise areas covered, such as implementation science, improvement science, early literacy practices, the science of reading, school improvement best practices, research and evaluation expertise, as well as expertise in how to build capacity and use of technical assistance practices. So how are we doing this work? So for Florida Implementation Zone, the how of this work is that we've been working to really develop and establish and improve the functioning of a linked teaming structure, where Florida has established a state management leadership team. We then have a state implementation team. That is, the leadership team provides the governance structure, the overall leadership, helps with formal decision-making authority when needed, the resource allocation, the removal of barriers. And then the state implementation team, which consists of various levels of staff from within the department, as well as key partners, are really the accountable structure for ensuring that the design of the implementation work is happening. So the development of the practice profile, the development of the professional learning supports, and getting the guidance and feedback and input from leadership as they did so. We then, within each of the districts and the regional consortium, have developed district leadership and implementation teams. And this past year, they've worked hard to develop their school leadership teams to support the best standards implementation, specifically starting with that PK5 early literacy. So to accomplish that, we've done a number of supporting Florida to deliver statewide learning events, such as their standards implementation institutes that occur in the summer. Specifically for the implementation zone, we have done 8 learning modules over the past academic year of professional learning for the districts on a variety of implementation topics, from forming their team to using data to inform their action and their planning going forward, to how to collect walkthrough observation data and to use that data as examples. And then individualized coaching is taking place. So we're individualized coaching at multiple levels. There's individual coaching happening of state staff at the state level, such as with the state transformation specialist or the state transformation director, as that position is called in Florida. There's also then the state transformation director and the different TA center staff are providing coaching of the regional and the district staff as they go forward as well. So the how of a partnership, what does this look like? How are these two TA centers coming together to partner? We need a lot. So we have a TA center collaboration planning that happens once a month, right? Where it's just the TA center staff and we're looking at what's happening, what's needed, where are we going as we go forward. There's also collaborative delivery of technical assistance. So both centers have staff present within weekly planning meetings with department staff. Sometimes that is with the SIT. Every other week is the SIT. The other week is the state management team, as well as working with the state transformation director and other staff as needed, given various tasks. We also, as I said, are providing that professional learning together in coaching with department, region, district, and school staff. And finally, we've established sharing data between our two centers. So we look and both use district and state capacity data, looking at the fidelity data and the process data, along with the state, and sharing that data and using that data to inform and improve our respective centers' TA delivery as we go forward. So what are our learning? And we just want to take a moment to share this quote from Helen Keller: "Alone we can do so little, but together we can do so much." So our learnings to date in this first year and a half of a partnership has been that we've been really careful to build with the state of Florida and not for them. With the pandemic and everything that has been happening this past year, it's been sometimes a slippery slope of wanting to do the work for Florida instead of building with them or actually building capacity. So ensuring that we're actually doing intentional capacity building activities and not filling that gap from a state standpoint. Really ensuring that it's not just a team in name, but that they're really functioning and engaging in teaming. Really cultivating the champions, both from a formal leadership standpoint and ensuring that the executive leadership support, buy-in, and promotion is present, and the problem solving and the barrier removals are happening, and there are those clear feedback loops present between the SMT and the SIT. That has taken some effort and work to get established, and ensure those are present, but also ensuring at the same time that we're cultivating those informal champions that are informal leaders. They don't necessarily have that explicit decision-making authority, but they are have a great deal of influence, physical presence, as well as a great degree of persistence and strong belief in that this is the right work to be doing for students in Florida. We've had a lot of learning around communication and dissemination, communication being internal to the department, as well as communicating out with the field and establishing those feedback loops, as I talked about, but also struggling this tension between implementation and dissemination, going big, but also staying focused and going deep for creating that shared learning, and how to straddle that tension when there are real clear legislative pressing demands and needs, and maintaining a pace that is doable as we go forward has been an area of learning for all of us. Two final learnings has been ensuring that we have the data at the right time, at the right level, and in the right format that is needed in order to use it for decision making and problem solving. And as I talked about, managing that pace and that sense of urgency to go big, and to meet the needs of our districts and our students, and ensure that we are making progress and doing progress well, but also doing it with quality, and ensuring that we are sticking to the integrity or to the fidelity of our implementation work in process. So it was a quick overview and story of our partnership together between the Florida Department of Ed, the State Implementation and Scaling Up Center of Evidence-Based Practices, and the Region 7 Comprehensive Center. We invite you to check out our website and learn more about the Florida work and the stories, as well as we encourage you to talk to our Florida partners. We hope you have a great rest of the conference and you enjoy your various sessions. Thank you.